Good times.
Agreed.
What's up? Yeah. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
How you been?
I'm good. Try not to get fat now that I'm aged out and on this podcast.
It's a task. It's a real task to not do that. A lot of people seem to fall into that trap.
It's amazing how you can eat like 5,000 calories a day and not have to worry about getting fat because you're running around so much, and then you age out and you're like, oh man, I really have to think about what I'm doing here.
I can't just eat whatever I want.
I had a peanut. And
You had a peanut and your love handle got bigger?
exactly.
Well, all right. Welcome, everybody. Episode 3 of the Aged Out podcast. We have on popular demand with us today, defending gold medalist, center snare for the Bluecoats 2016, Mr. Aaron Bailie. How the heck are you, man?
Man, you made that sound a lot cooler than it feels.
It's a big deal.
Has your Facebook friend request just blown up with high school and foreign kids that are adding you to Facebook?
It's been kind of like backlogged for a while. I need to go in and like figure all that out.
Dude, I was always surprised at the amount of friend requests I got from, I don't know, just random people in like Singapore or Thailand.
Yeah.
That probably don't know how to even pronounce my name, but have added me on social media.
It happens.
That's got to be half of them.
Half of them? Jeez.
Well, what's the other half?
Spam accounts.
Spam. All right.
So why don't we start with a little bit of an introduction for those that don't really know much about you. That's kind of the direction I want to take like the guests episodes on. Just kind of give people a chance to get to know the different people in the activity, how they started, where they marched, and then we'll just kind of spitball and just talk about all kinds of random stuff from your experiences. So,
all right. Well, I guess we should go way back.
Oh dear.
So, my mom plays bagpipes.
That's awesome.
Wait, you're being serious?
I'm being dead serious. Still does in the local pipe band. And
you don't say.
Third grade Erin, she asked me, hey, do you want to come learn how to play snare drum in the pipe band? And so my first experience playing snare drum was in a Scottish pipe band.
That's a unique one.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's...
and it was funny because, like, I think three or four of us at Bluecoats this past summer had that background in Scottish drumming.
Really?
What?
Yeah, it was weird. Ben Heydrich, Max Nevis, those dudes.
I've been gone way too long. I have no idea who any of those guys are. That's not an insult to them. I'm sure they're very good snare drummers. We're old, dude. This is depressing. Yeah. I don't know anyone in the activity anymore. I realized that the other day. I don't know anyone currently in a drum corps drumline marching right now. I know people teaching. I don't know anyone still doing it.
I know some people marching. A couple.
Yeah.
Like Henry's marching Phantom.
Ah, that's true. I do know who that is.
But I know his older sister because she marched with me.
Do you not really know Ryan?
I never really met Ryan Ellis. Like, I've met him in passing at random indoor shows, but I've never, like, gone to Bargo's and, like, drank a beer with him or something. Or
well, he's
you
super
guys.
dreamy, so...
Is he McDreamy? Is he McDreamy of the drum corps world at this point?
He's got the strong chin. But anyway, background here.
I guess so. I went to South Oldham High School, and they were.
Where is that at?
South Oldham High School, Crestwood, Kentucky. It's like a suburb of Louisville. It's like the one part of Kentucky that isn't really Kentucky.
That statement makes so much sense to people from Kentucky.
Yeah.
So they needed people in their drumline, and somebody told somebody else that I played snare drum. So I get a message from Kevin Hankins, another ex and Bluecoats alum, that says, "Hey, like, you should do marching band. It'll be awesome. Come play snare drum." And I probably like switched back and forth. Like, I'll do it. No, I don't want to do it. It's too much time. And then like the day before camp, I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's do it.
That's funny that you say it was such a deliberation for you, because like I got into it. It was an extremely yes or no decision. Like, it's weird that you went back and forth like that, because I was switching from 8th grade in the private school system in Louisville to the public school system. my parents were just trying to figure out things to get me involved in, to make friends and stuff, switching, because nobody I went to middle school with was going to this high school in the public school system. And I had been taking drum set lessons for like 6 weeks before I finished 8th grade. And my dad just randomly met someone through work who was like, hey, your son plays drums, right? I heard Ballard's Drumline, which is another high school here in Louisville, has a really good one. You should look into that. And my dad just came home that night and asked me, hey, would you be interested in maybe trying out for Ballard's Drumline? And I didn't even think about it. It wasn't like a deliberation. I just said, all right, sure.
You probably didn't realize how much work it was at that point either.
Well, no, my only impression of it was Drumline the movie. That movie was literally, as false and stupid as that movie is, was one of the big influencing factors in me wanting to do this.
I mean, I feel like we all thought that movie was cool at one point.
And then you get in the activity, even in high school, and you're like...
Well, in conjunction with, like, that movie, the thing that got me to transfer from middle school to high school marching band was, like, I had gone to the high school football games and, like, seen them, like, playing in the stands and, like, playing the stand tunes and, like, the groovy stuff. I was like, oh, man, that's cool. It's hip. I want to do that. And so, like, that was my impression. I want to go play some, like, rock grooves and
only do pep
some
bands.
Cadences and stuff and, like, pep band stuff.
God, I hated
that. And that was my impression. That's what got me to swing over and actually do marching band in high school. So it's like I started taking lessons in middle school in anticipation that I was eventually going to max out my marching experience playing hip hop tunes in the stands.
Where did you go from there?
Lofty goals right there, right?
So all right. So you were teetering on going back and forth. You decided to go for it.
I went for it, and then I loved it, obviously. And then like I had my buddies showing me like Rhythm X videos, like Rhythm X 09. I thought it was awesome, and I went to like 2010 DCI Louisville show, and then I think that was when I really wanted to march drum corps. So this is sophomore in high school, Aaron Bailie.
Did you guys, when you were in Blue Stars in 2010, Mike, did you guys go to the Louisville show?
No. I remember specifically asking like the corps director before the season, like, hey, when's the schedule going up? Are we going to go to the Louisville show? And we did not.
I never went to the Louisville show when I was marching.
I got to at Bluecoats. In 2012, I got to play at my home show. Family and friends, I got to come see it. It was great. Cardinal Stadium is a great venue. They should do more drum corps shows there.
In my 2 years marching Crown, we never did a single thing in Kentucky.
That sucks.
Except for one day we had a rehearsal at West Jessamine High School, and that was it. But nobody ever got to... And it rained like all day. It like rained all day, so nobody that was close really even got to see it live unless they went to a show out of state somewhere and saw one of the years that I marched Crown. I was like, man, we got this 10,000 mile tour and both years never even come close to the state of Kentucky.
We stayed at for the Louisville show in 2012. We stayed at Seneca High School. The Bluecoats did, and the original schedule we were supposed to get in early enough.
More downtown, isn't it?
Seneca? Not really. I could be totally wrong. I'm terrible with locations and directions.
There's too many high schools around here.
There's like a billion high schools in Louisville. But the point is, like, I thought the original travel schedule we were going to get in early enough, like 1 a.m., where I could be like, it's like 10 minutes from my house. I was going to call my brother and say, hey, be waiting in the parking lot. Take me home so I can sleep in my bed tonight. And you're going to drive me back here at like 7 a.m. in the morning or 7:30. And I was going to sneak out. And then we got delayed and didn't get in until like 3:30. And I would have gotten...
You never get anywhere on schedule.
No, you don't. It's
on tour.
Such a
so
shit.
DCI 2010 kind of sold you.
DCI 2010 sold me.
All right.
I saw Glassmen, Madison Scouts, Cavaliers, and Bluecoats in the lot. And
okay, Bluecoats 2010.
After that, I wanted to march Bluecoats. But it's funny. I said to myself, like, oh, maybe I could like march Glassmen for a summer and get better, so that I can make a like Bluecoats or something.
Dude, that's the best approach, though. I think a lot of kids. Mike and I were talking about this earlier. Like, a lot of kids have this dream of like, I want to march BD, Crown, Glassmen. Like, obviously those groups are having a lot of success right now, but they just like they go and audition for those groups, and if they don't make it, they're heartbroken. But most of the people that are in those groups that year have marched somewhere previously to get experience, just to get better. In not to knock anybody who's marched a lower group because they work just as hard, but sometimes you got to get in somewhere. You can't.
I have gotten cut from a lot less prestigious places. If I just stopped auditioning when I got cut, I never would have marched anywhere.
Oh, I got cut a bunch of times.
First year out, I was so this is 16-year-old. Yeah, I was 16 years old. And I went to Legends, got cut. I went to Spirit, got cut. I went to Bluecoats knowing that I would get cut at least, but that was my first camp to figure out what auditions are all about.
I'll tell you why you got cut. Evan and I both taught you at some point. Some goofy looking hands.
We all have had goofy hands at some point.
Everybody's
it took me until I aged out to figure out my hands.
Well, we'll revisit kind of the audition thing here. We'll let you finish of your roadmap, and then we'll revisit the audition process.
All right. So by the time I was a junior in high school, I had kind of narrowed my efforts to Glassmen. So I ended up getting one of the last few contracts on the Snare line. So I marched the 2012 season, which was the hardest summer of my life, for sure.
Why?
Oh, I didn't know what I was getting into.
I think everyone's first summer is like that.
Yeah.
No matter what people tell you and what your preconceived notions are from YouTube videos and even word of mouth from people that have done it, nothing prepares you for that fully. You can run every day, you can lift weights, you're gonna get your butt kicked, and because no one goes into their first summer of drum corps and are good at marching.
Well, not this the physical aspect too, but mentally, it's just such a different level. The mental game, waking up every day early, you're tired from the day before, you're sore from the day before, but you just got to go out and do it, and you're just not used to that. It's different.
But besides those broad strokes, not every butt kicking, so to speak, is created equally. I envy the people that only know Bluecoats. And not to say that Glassmen is the worst thing ever, but it was a lot of people that were really green and a lot of stuff getting beaten into us to make it good.
Yes.
I feel that butt whooping is almost a side effect of the greenness.
It's everyone needs at least one, but
at some point,
the upper cores, everyone's already had their ass kicked. So.
And do you think that might be why your butt kicking at Bluecoats was less intense? Because all those guys in that drum line, like you said earlier, have marched drum corps before.
Oh, for sure.
So they've had that experience. So they don't. The staff there doesn't have to get their butt in gear.
You can work smarter.
Yes, because the people are better at marching. They're better at playing. Yeah. They know what's expected of them.
More information, less reps.
Exactly. I remember,
you're just better at learning.
Fewer reps.
Exactly. You're used to those on the fly changes. I remember at Blue Stars there was a day. My green butt whooping story here. Tom Ungst is still one of the best in the activity, and I was fortunate enough to march for him. And he still got out on the field, took his shirt off at he was probably 50, late 40s, I think, in 2010. I don't know how old he is actually, but probably around there.
Might be aging him a little bit there.
Maybe. I'm not. Well,
he's aged out at least.
He is aged out. That's true. But we always knew when Tom came out to battery sectionals and took his shirt off, not a whole lot was going to be said, except reset, add a set, or reset, do it again.
No matter how good you get, everybody needs those days.
And
sometimes
I remember a specific block in Atlanta before the Atlanta regional. There was a chunk of our second chart that was at tempo 210, and the drill was really hard, and so we were bad at it. We just needed to have our butts kicked basically for a block to show us that it wasn't scary. You can do it. You don't need to be afraid of this part of the show, to get us to attack it instead of let it attack us, basically. And so our techs were literally, for the 3-hour block we were on this side field, throwing a tennis ball back and forth while Tom just kicked the living crap out of us. Nobody in the drumline talked the entire 3 hours. Nobody said anything. It was just reset, do it again, or reset, add the next set on.
I like those blocks sometimes. Like when you kind of get in your own zone and you're not like talking, you're not thinking about anything else, you're just like doing band. And at that point, I think it becomes easier. Like even if it's hot, you're doing like hard stuff.
You get lost in the
you just
get in the momentum
you get
of
lost
it.
in the reps.
Yeah. So, Glassmen 2012.
We're gonna make it this time.
We're gonna make it.
No, that's
all right. No, it's fine.
So,
I like the sidetrack tangents. They're good.
Yeah. Glassmen 2012. Which I also... That's where I met Mike Davis.
He was in that line, wasn't he?
Yeah, who I said, hey, let's audition for Bluecoats next year. I didn't audition because I thought girls were more important at that point. So I took 2013.
They still are, and always should. Well, go on.
I took 2013 off of drum corps, but that's when
Aaron and I met.
I auditioned for Tate's Creek.
I was a snare tech.
Because my Will Stevenson, who taught me in high school, was the caption head. Was that what his role there?
I'm not sure his exact title. He wrote the battery music.
Yeah, he was one of the big guys at Tate's Creek. So I thought, like, I'll march under Will again and with another buddy from high school, have a good time, but with my sights set on Rhythm X eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Evan was a snare tech my first year at Tate's Creek.
That was 2013, right?
2013.
Uh-huh. So, 2014 auditions. I made it all the way to April at Bluecoats.
You did?
I did.
I didn't know that.
Funny story, Kyle Suchia, the current Bluecoats center snare. He and I were both auditioning in 2014. End of the January camp, Roger talked to both of us and he said, look, like, I've been going back and forth, like, I can't decide between you two. I think there were like 7 snares contracted and they wanted to go 8. So Roger's like, look, we're going to call the 2 of you back to April, and if one of you is like slamming, then we'll take that person. If we can't decide still, we'll go 9. So it's like, okay, cool, we're good. Get to April. Jason Salad Fingers
Schladeweiler.
Yeah,
however you pronounce that guy's last name.
Jason shows up, and Connor Yasuda, who marched Pulse, they both show up, and they get 2 spots, and Kyle and I get cut.
So they went 9 anyway.
So 2 future Bluecoat Center snares got each other cut in 2014.
That's funny.
Because they couldn't contract either of you in March.
Yeah, so
man.
Rewind a little bit. WGI finals. I auditioned, and this is in quotation marks, for Ted Leith.
You're welcome.
Um,
I just remembered that I set that up. At
Did you?
I was teaching you in Tate's Creek that season.
Oh my gosh.
In 2014, and
yeah.
I got Ted to check you out for Blue Stars that summer.
I was getting worried about Bluecoats, as I should have been. So I kind of auditioned like on a Rhythm X snare drum on a pad for Ted Leith, so that Blue Stars would hopefully take me in the event that I get cut from Bluecoats, which they did, which was awesome. So I marched Blue Stars 2014, and that was actually a really fun summer.
Was that Shriver's first year there?
Second year.
So that was like the whole Mapes, Ian Grom, Shriver, second year, tenure.
Yeah,
cool.
so...
Cool.
Was 2012 Shriver's last year at Bluecoats?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought...
See, I'm jealous of you guys, because you had, like, Mike Jackson, Eric Shriver, Roger Carter, like, all in the same staff. Like, that's ridiculous.
It was pretty cool. A lot of different mentalities to learn from throughout a summer.
Yeah. And that Shriver tuning.
It's good stuff.
Gotta give a shout out to that.
I'm not going to reveal the secret. And he has told me what he does, and it's very simple.
It's not much of a formula.
Don't reinvent the wheel is all I'll say. It's very simple how he makes his drums sound like that. If he's even the one that still tunes them in Blue Stars. I haven't talked to him in like 3 years. I don't know.
Even if he's not the one that tunes them, I feel like if the current tuning at Blue Stars was bad, he'd be like, no, change it.
So. If you don't figure it out, I'm just going to come in and tune them for you. Because he's I feel like a lot of times in this activity, the simplest stuff is the best.
Yeah.
When it comes to tuning, I feel like people try to reinvent the wheel, like I said a minute ago, way too much. Even though this tried and true method for doing X has been working for 15 years, you should change it. No. I mean, I'm all for innovation and going in different directions, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it in the end. Unless you come up with something that is legitimately better. Which, if something's been used for years, the odds of you being the smart enough person to come up with the next thing are pretty low. Like, I mean...
Alright, I'm gonna be the tangent wrangler again.
Tangent wrangler, alright.
Throw my lasso.
Sorry, I'm bad about that.
Nah, it was good.
So, yeah, Blue Stars was like my first taste of like the more flowy West Coast style. Like, I got hounded about, like, just not performing and, like, not having...
You were the stiff white kid from Kentucky.
Yeah, the East Coast boy.
Side note, that was me, too. Continue.
Yeah, it, like, took me until I aged out.
Took me till after I aged out.
So then after Blue Stars... I was fortunate enough to make Rhythm X, maybe only because they took 11 snare drums.
That's a lot of snare
which
drums.
was ridiculous. It was like...
It's too many.
And I was on the end for that line. So I got the end drill of an 11-man snare line.
Oh, God.
I like listen down the snare line, and it's like...
Well, no, I can agree with that, because I was on the end of the 10-man snare line in 2012, and...
Mike's like yelling over to me at the middle. He's like, "Is it good?" I'm like, "Yeah, just don't change anything you just did."
I had no
idea. Even if it sounds like crap.
I had to block out everything going on to my left except Zach J and Frankie, the two guys next to me. If I listened past that, it sounded like gobbledygook because
yeah, PSA,
they're so far away. They're so far away.
Just
They're
listen
sound
to one
away.
drum.
Yeah.
Just listen to the one drum next to you, and don't listen to the ones past that.
I remember being in the finals lot. We're in the finals lot with a massive crowd around us in 2012 for indoor season, and we get done with a rep, and the crowd goes nuts, and I didn't know if it was good or not. I looked at Dan Shack and Evan.
The crowd probably didn't know either.
Probably. No, but I looked over after the rep, and like, I was pretty sure it was really good, just based on like the staff's reaction. You know, like you said, the crowd might not have even known if it was really good. I like looked over at Dan and Evan, and I was like, "Is it good? Am I ruining it for everybody?" Because I had no idea, and it
was good.
Good times.
All right, yeah, whatever.
11-man snare lines.
So after that, I had probably the easiest audition of my life at Bluecoats for 2015. Something about that audition, I was just feeling super confident. I played well all weekend. I had really good down the lines. I had a good individual, and fortunately for me, I got contracted Saturday morning, which was before like everyone got thrown through the ringer Saturday night. Like, Roger would teach us something really hard. All right, play it down the line. All right, something new really hard. All right, play it, everybody. Okay, down the line. And I was just like,
is this the November camp you're talking about?
This
or
is
December?
the January camp.
Okay.
So I'm like sitting like behind the drums on a pad for auditions.
While everybody else is just completely choking and having themselves.
Yeah, everyone else is like playing their down the lines, and me and Mike D are next to each other on pads. Like, I'm not going up there.
Well, there was something like that when I auditioned in 12. They contracted me in November at the Thanksgiving, their very first camp on Sunday, and in January when we came back, it's kind of like you said, I dodged the bullet, like, because I was the only one they contracted. They contracted the 4 vets, or the 2 vets from the Midwest, and there were 2 in California, Colton and Joel. They contracted at their California camp a few weeks after, and they contracted me with those guys that weekend. And in January, like you said, they put those guys through, like, the 4 or 5 they were trying to decide between. They were making them do, they left me, Tom, and Joe in the room with the rest of the kids that were there to learn, basically, and weren't going to make it, essentially. And they took, like, the 6 or 7 guys who they were deciding between for the last 3 spots up, like, into the gym and did, like, marching and playing fundamental stuff and, like, taught them something and made them march and play on the move and stuff. And I'm just down there
terrible.
Like, thank God I'm not having to do that right now because that sounds miserable. And yeah, it was funny.
So audition went great. 2015 Bluecoats is the season that I look back on most fondly of any season, indoor or outdoor, that I marched.
Was that the best drum line you were ever in?
It was the best drum line I was ever in.
Snare line or just drum line as a whole?
Yes.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, we just, like, something clicked towards the end of the season, and we got really good, and it was just a good group of people.
So you peaked at the right time.
We peaked at the right time.
That's very important on tour that people don't realize. A lot of drum lines throughout the summer go through a lot of ups and downs, and you might come out of the gate in June, out of spring training, on fire, but then, like, the summer just gets to you. To certain individuals, group as a whole, you start clashing a little bit, and then the groups that peak at the right time, which is the last 2 weeks of the season, are the ones that place in the top 3 or 4 usually. Like, there's been summers where you have a group come out swinging and then they just kind of plateau on, like, July 10th and never get any better. So, like, the whole timing thing is extremely important. I just completely train wrecked what you were talking about, and you have what were you talking about? I forgot to.
No, it's good.
2015 was the best drum line you were ever in.
2015 was great. And then I guess that's about it for my marching career, because at that point on, I just marched Rhythm X until I aged out. Well, I guess I should say Bluecoats first. I aged out of Bluecoats this past summer, and then aged out with Rhythm X this past winter with the 10-year low score.
Wait, you guys had the lowest score Rhythm X has had in 10 years?
Maybe not score, placement. In 10 years.
Was it 6th or 5th?
2007.
Is this since 2007?
Yeah, since 2007.
So, yeah.
What do you think happened? Do you think other groups were just really good? Because I thought you all played your butts off. I thought you all played extremely well.
I don't think that you guys should have finished in the placement that you finished have.
I think...
Do I think you should have won? No, but finished where... I think you should have beaten a group or two above you. But that's all.
That happens every year, though, unfortunately.
I felt like the recap was confusing. And the placement I wasn't as upset about, as I was kind of just like... The recap didn't reflect how I felt the
performance had gone.
The performance went, yeah.
Wow. That's a whole nother issue in and of itself.
You get cool YouTube lot videos, so it's fine.
Immortalized on YouTube.
The lot's all we care about anyway, right? The show doesn't really count.
Lots are
fun, man. Yeah. Dude, it's fun.
They were my favorite part.
Probably.
It's the hype.
Probably my favorite part.
The lot hype is real.
Oh, yeah.
Well, bringing, I guess... So, Bluecoats 2016 aged out. Rhythm X 2017 aged out.
Mm-hmm.
So, earlier we were talking about kind of like the audition process. And you had mentioned you'd been cut from less prestigious places. And it made me kind of think back on some nostalgic memories of me getting cut and heartbroken in the many places that I've gone.
Or what about Bluecoats auditions?
Well, dude, I actually tried out for Bluecoats twice.
Twice? I thought it was just once.
No, twice. I tried out the first time, and it was probably, I think that was actually my first drum corps camp ever. It was in the fall of 2006 for what would have been the 2000 summer.
I was like 11.
Or 2007 summer.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been the 2007 season. I think that was when they first changed their uniforms and they did the criminal show and all that.
No more white pants.
No more white pants. Yeah, they switched from the white pants to the black.
You mean they went to the best uniforms the Bluecoats have ever had?
I do love that uniform.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
That's very accurate.
All right, before we talk about uniforms.
But so I went to that audition, super green, super young. That would have been my junior year. I'd have been in my senior year of high school then. Got cut, obviously. It was nowhere near ready to be in that caliber of a line. Ended up going next year for the summer of 2008 to cadets. Funny funny story. I didn't think it was funny at the time, but I got contracted at Cadets for the summer of 2008 by Tom Oxt. He loved me, loved the way I played. I played great in my individual, played great in the lines. He gave me a contract. I don't remember what month it was. Told me, yeah, we've made a commitment to you guys. And this is not a knock on the Cadets, but it was super crappy for me personally. We made a commitment to you to give you a contract. We want you to make a commitment to us as an organization. Start bringing back like tours, fees, and stuff, dues. So the next month I went back. Tom was not at that camp because at that time Tom and Colin were both kind of at Cadets.
That limbo period.
Yeah, and Colin, I don't know if it was directly him. I don't even really remember. But I ended up getting cut after I got a contract.
That's that kind of defeats the purpose of a contract.
It does.
Very
it makes you wonder. But there was a guy that they knew who had more experience, who was from UMass, which is where they're all from, the UMass connection. That kid ended up getting a spot. And so I got cut from there, super salty. I was just like, went home, cried in my pillow. Not really, but...
You did. You and I both wanted to be a cadet forever.
And I think, like, I did. I love the Cadets. I loved everything about them. Early 2000s Cadets.
I did too.
Inspired me. But then I went out the next year after watching the complete 08 season of, like, Phantom, just that Spartacus show, just pure adrenaline. I went to Phantom for my first camp for the summer of 09.
I didn't know that either.
Absolutely hated it. I just didn't like the vibe. Phantom was a great core, but it just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't me. I didn't fit in there. I didn't really play that technique. So I hated it there.
When Rennick was still there.
Rennick was still there. The Red Violin show. That was not their best show in core history. But I didn't like it there, so I ended up going to Crown. Made Crown in 09 and 2010. And I will say I'm probably one of the rare exceptions of people who did not march a lower group, but worked hard, but also lucked my way into a second place drum line and drum corps for my first season of DCI.
You didn't talk about the 2011 Bluecoats audition.
Oh yeah, 2011. So obviously it made Crown, March 2009, 2010 Crown. Come around for the 2011 season, it was gonna be my age out. Due to college and like an internship, I was basically at the time 100% sure I wasn't going to be able to march my age out in 2011 because I was going to have to do a summer internship in order to complete my degree for college. And I told all the guys at Crown, hey, I'm not going to be able to march my age out. I ended up being the center in 2010, but I was like, I can't come back. I have to finish school. It's just, I got to do this. And they're like, oh yeah, we get it. Well, some things had kind of shifted with my school stuff, and it wasn't certain if I was going to be doing my internship during the summer or the fall. So I'd been kind of calling around and talking to some different people, and I ended up deciding, hey, I might be able to march my 2011 summer age out. Well, I didn't really want to go back to Crown. Just there was some personal reasons. I wanted to kind of get a different experience, learn from some new people. I'd obviously already marched Rhythm X at that point and knew Tim Jackson and those guys from like that kind of Bluecoats X connection. Mm-hmm. And I really, really liked that vibe. And I just wanted to kind of have a super chill summer and be in a good drum line. I didn't want to have the responsibility of being a center snare. I just kind of wanted to go and drum and do my thing. So the day before, I guess it was the November camp. The day before camp, I decided I'm going to go. And so my dad's like, all right, I'll take you up to Canton. So my dad drives me up. I'm learning the drum packet in the car on the way up to camp. Like, I haven't looked at the exercises at all. I'm on my way up there. We get there. I check in. It's like Friday night. And that was by far the easiest audition of my life. Like, at that point, I had already marched 2 summers at Crown. I had already marched 2 winters at Rhythm X. I was getting ready to do my 3rd winter at Rhythm X. And I was just like, I felt super confident. I was like, I don't really have anything to worry about. And it was also so funny at that audition camp. You were there?
That was my first drum corps camp. And I remember watching you play Twitch before, like, block. I remember you, like, saw you practicing Twitch like on a pad before like audition started or something, and I was like, oh crap, I'm playing that rhythm wrong. I was one of the kids that was like, yeah, I'm Aaron. I did 2 years of high school marching band.
Yeah, dude, and that was kind of one of the wild things. I don't remember if it was Shriver or somebody else that was in the room, but they had us go around. I don't know, maybe they were just killing time because they were like, it's Friday night, we don't really want to drum right now. But they had us go around the room, and everybody that was auditioning for snare drum in that room, he was like, oh, just give us your experience and where you're from, blah, blah, blah. And like you said, it's like, oh, I'm so-and-so, I went to this high school drumline, I'm so-and-so, I go to this college. And me and Tom Gasparini were sitting right next to each other, and Tom's like, my name's Tom, I marched in classic Tom fashion, I marched cadets for 2 summers and United Percussion and Rhythm X. And I'm sitting right next to him like, I'm Evan, I marched 2 summers at Crown and 2 winters at Rhythm X. And like,
there were only 2 spots, right?
there was very, very few spots. There's like 2 or 3 because they had a lot of vets come back.
You could feel everyone's
And like
hopes and
everyone's
dreams.
just like, yeah, like Heartbreak City, like people just like bum bum ba-dum. Like they just got hit in the stomach because, I mean, not to say that those spots were like guaranteed, but we had a lot of experience. And
I bet a lot of the older guys that were there that might have had 1 year somewhere else or something, or were in college, probably left Friday night.
there were people that left Friday night.
I would have if I'd been in that room and you and Tom, there were like 2 or 3 spots, and you and Tom both said, hey, this is our experience, and my experience was like, I marched Colts for a summer, or just my college drumline, or whatever, in high school for 4 years. I would have left. Yeah. I would have asked for my money back, and I would have left.
But I remember that night, that Friday night, Mike Jackson and Eric Shriver actually gave me a contract. Like, I'd been there for like 3 hours. Like, hey, I want to give you a contract. And I was like, this is great. I still am figuring stuff out with school because I didn't know whether or not I was going to be able to even march, which I ended up not being able to.
That might be the quickest non-vet contract out of Corps ever given in the history of Drum Corps.
Unless they just knew people were coming, probably. But, I mean, it was super chill, and I was, like, really relaxed the whole weekend. I was like, yeah. But on the flip side of that, there was just, like, this extreme animosity going on the back end because somebody had tagged me into a picture on Facebook at the Bluecoats camp, which no one knew I was going at because everyone assumed that I wasn't marching. So all my buddies that I just marched Crown with last year was like, dude, are you at Bluecoats camp? And I was like, kind of. I was like, long story, and I didn't really have time to explain it, so that part was kind of crappy, but it all worked out, and it was funny, but that was the easiest audition of my life.
Didn't you tell me that Drew Guy, like, pulled you to the side and, like, had a chat because you were a center snare of a top 3 group, and then he was too, like, he didn't want any, like, clashing to go on or anything?
Yeah, I think he was just, like, he talked to me, and he was like, hey, like, I know you were, like, the center at Crown and Rhythm X and stuff like this, and I think he just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to, like, try to overstep my bounds. And I basically told him, hey man, nah, it's all good. I just came here to drum and have a good time and play clean. That's about it. He was like, okay, cool. I mean, I get it.
I mean, it makes sense why he would do that.
You mentioned, like, you didn't want to be a center snare, you just want to, like, drum and hang out. And I think maybe how much I enjoyed the 2015 season, maybe over even the 2016 season. Like, I'm sure there was still, like, the same amount of crap going on behind the scenes. It's just 2016 I was aware of it and I had to deal with it. 2015 somebody else had to do it, so I was just like drumming, hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah, like you said before, like your 2015 season was probably the easiest audition you had, even though you weren't a vet to Bluecoats yet, but in 2016 you were. Being the center,
I drummed worse for when I was going to be the center of that line than the year before.
Being the center,
it's pressure, man,
was so stressful. Like, not in
auditions, I should clarify.
Not in an unbearable way, but you just have so much more responsibility. Like, anytime there's an ensemble timing issue or something's going on, like, you got to know what the answer is. You got to know what happened, why it happened. You got to be able to communicate with the drum majors, with the box.
You have to play the same way every rep, because I know I have stood next to, like we've all stood next to someone that, like, I don't know if you're gonna, like drive that roll and play it in time this rep, or like let it relax a little bit. And if you don't know what to expect, it's really hard to play with them, you know?
You're expected.
And then you have to do that yourself. You're like, man, I don't want to let these guys down that are listening to me.
Yeah, you have to be perfect. And it sucks. And well, it's cool. And
it's cool because you get to play like what the rhythms the way you want to play them.
Yeah, it's empowering, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to let anybody down. I can't screw up. I can't screw up. I can't screw up.
So where did you stand in the line at Bluecoats in 2015 in the snare line?
S3. I was
so
center
2
5.
in. So 2 in.
Yeah.
You were 1 in at Crown in 09, right? And then you got to
in.
be in the center or next to center, basically, depending on what part of the summer it was in 10, right?
Yeah, I started out in the middle 3.
Well, the reason I ask is it's a lot easier to stand in the middle of a line than it is on the end or 1 in, isn't it?
Oh, no kidding.
Dude, standing right next to center is super easy.
Yeah.
Or even like center 5 is great.
I don't even know if I ever
just
stood center 5.
One guy in between you and the center.
Well,
and it was, for me, it was Devin Koning, who, another Bluecoats Rhythm X guy, and he was super solid. He like didn't take that summer, so I might as well have been standing next to Mike.
Some guys are like that, man. The guy that stood outside of me at Bluecoats on the end, Taha, he was consistent as hell. That dude like rarely messed up. It was awesome. But yeah, it's there was a day in finals week actually in 2012 at Coates. What spurred that whole question about it's a lot easier to stand in the middle of a line than it is 1 in or on the end or something, because I never made it in the big lines I was in. I never made it past 1 in. I was always 1 in. Both drum corps I marched, I was 1 in, and then indoor I was 1 in at X, and then I was on the end in 2012. There was a day at finals week at Coates where we were warming up after lunch, and I was not playing well. My hands felt like crap. We were playing our triple roll exercise or something, and Mike Jackson was standing in front of us, and my hands felt like crap, like I said, and I just wasn't playing well. And so he cut us off, and he pointed to me and goes, Fantini, switch places with Tom. Like, he put me in the center of the line, basically, and put Tom 1 in. And in my head, I was like, this first rep, I'm going to play exactly the same way and see what happens. And I did, and it was perfect.
And it was good.
It was perfect. And I was like, this is so easy. What the heck? It is, and it's why it's never made sense to me why they always, lines like that always put, I don't want to say the worst player, but there has to be a worse player in every snare line. You know, like there's always, no one is ever equally good across the board. It's just how human beings are. But making a line like that means you're obviously good. Making any top 6 drum line, top 8 drum line, whatever. But it's never made sense to me why they put the weaker players on the ends or 1 in.
Well, but it's a
because those are the harder parts of the line to march.
It's a double-edged sword, though, because even though, like, on the outside of the line, it's a little harder to listen, harder to balance and play with everybody. On the inside, if you have weaker players that aren't consistent enough, then the outside players don't even have a chance to start with.
Yeah, imagine having an inconsistent player in the very middle, and then like both sides of the line like interpreting on each end differently.
And I'm not saying do something like that. I'm saying it would almost be smarter to have your 2 weakest players. You have your center 3. If you have 9 snare drummers, you have your center snare, and then on either side you have 2 strong players. But you put your 2 weakest players outside of those guys.
Your center 5.
In the center 5. Because then you have that stable center. The 2 weaker players have sound completely surrounding them to fit in with and play clean with.
It's like a weak player Big Mac.
Basically. And I've never understood. Being on the end's hard, man. Aaron, have you been on the end?
I on the 11
man, so you understand completely.
That is the worst.
It's
I've been on
awful.
the end.
I've never played lighter in my life, except like maybe Scottish snare drumming.
Well, for me, I have heavy hands. I always have. By the end of 2012, we got pretty balanced. I had to play with light sticks. I couldn't have a heavy pair of drumsticks. And now maybe that was a mental thing. I don't know. But there was finals week. They throughout the whole season, the techs at Bluecoats, every time we got a shipment of sticks, would go through them, find the really good ones, and hide them away for finals week.
Yeah.
And then you would get a pair. They gave us a pair of sticks for quarters, a new pair of sticks for semis, and a new pair of sticks for finals night. And I ended up using the same pair of sticks for all 3 nights because the pair they gave me for quarters was very light. And because I have heavy hands, I produce a more dark sound out of a drum, and we got pretty balanced that summer. And so it worked out. But I taped up, after quarters, I taped up my semi sticks, and they were beefy. They were some heavy sticks. The very first rep we played, or we did some chunk the next day in the afternoon before going to semis, and it was just snare line. No drum line sectional, just a snare line, and it was bad. Like, I was overplaying, I was too loud, and like, Mike was polite about it. He just walked down and was like, something sounded weird down here, and whatever. And I was like, yeah, we'll fix it. And I was like, yeah, I'll fix it. And so I, like, before the next rep, grabbed my quarter sticks out of my backpack that were super light and didn't change the way I played. And he came back and goes, all right, cool, fixed, we're good. And, like, moved on. Like, it's...
I understand your problems, though, because I came off of the 2016 summer, so I have, like, sloppy, loud center snare hands. And then I'm trying to play in the Rhythm X snare line for 2017. And it's like the whole probably first month of the season, it's like, Aaron, play softer. Aaron, you're overbalancing everyone. And it's like we all know that guy in the snare line that overbalances everything and just is stubborn and won't change. So I didn't want to be that. Eventually I figured it out, but it's tough to, like, bring your touch down.
Dude, my, like, biggest contrast in playing with touch was, like, obviously 2009 I marched Crown. Like, we played very aggressive, played with a lot of velocity. I won't say harsh, but we hit the drum. Like, we did not spare drum heads, that's for sure. And then immediately after that summer, I went and marched on the end of the 2010 Rhythm X snare line. So I went from Crown, where it's just like velocity, we're going to play through the head, to the end of an indoor line at Rhythm X, where they play with a lot more touch.
Where the average age was like 23 and a half.
Yeah, the average age was like, the average age actually was like 23 years old, even though I was 19 or 20 at the time, but everybody else was either a age out of DCI marching their last WGI, or they had the bonus year of WGI. So there was like 3 or 4 23-year-olds or something like that on that line. Like Chris Gary, for instance, he aged out of DCI at Bluecoats in 2008, but was marching the 2010 Rhythm X drumline because of the way his birthday fell. And there was a couple people like that, actually. And that was actually one of the wildest auditions, too. Like, that was super stressful, the Rhythm X my first year, because basically it came down to it. They had 8 guys basically picked who were all age outs, and the 9th guy was going to be whoever they wanted to be the center snare for the 2011 season. So they're basically choosing 2 things at the same time. There's going to be the 9th person in our 2010 snare line, and also basically the center snare for our next year. And I was just like, holy crap. So they're basically like, oh, congratulations, you got a spot. You're going to be center snare next year. And I was like, wait, what? I mean, that's not what they said, but...
No, knowing the Tims, that's probably what they said.
Oh, man. It was stressful.
All right, we've been going for a while. I want to push this in a certain direction here. I want to talk with Aaron. Just to talk about your summers at Bluecoats. Like, you kind of touched on it a little bit, what it's like being a center somewhere and the stress involved, but you guys have become rock stars. Like, when did that happen? Like, when I was there in 2012, like, that wasn't a thing. Like, yeah, we were popular in the lot and stuff. People wanted to come watch us. But I feel like looking on Twitter now and YouTube comments and Facebook, like, the Bluecoats have, like, established themselves as, like, the rock stars of DCI. Like, did you guys try to do that? Or is that something that just happened organically and naturally?
You know, you say, like, 2012, you guys were not that, but I feel like you spurred that trend. Like you guys started doing the lot drill, you did flam jam, you played like Twitch, like stuff that people think is cool to watch in the lot. And I guess over the years it just evolved, and it was just like, how can we do cooler stuff next year? I don't know. We'll add a drum set. I don't know. Well, you can play 24th notes in your flam jam entrance instead of just 12th notes.
So, Mike, were you guys the first group to do the flam jam at Coates?
I think so, yeah, we were.
So you did the flam jam, you did the Twitch with the section solos.
Yeah.
Because I think they had played Twitch actually in 2011, but I don't know if they did like the solo type thing.
No, Twitch was a 2011 thing, but they didn't have... Roger Carter wrote the snare drums feature, and I think the individual techs wrote... Jeremy Summers was the main quad tech, I think, with Amador. I think Jeremy wrote the quad. Maybe with Anye might have collaborated a little bit, who was the center quad that year. And then Ryan Lamb probably, would write the bass stuff for it.
So then it went from Twitch
to like the Vortex.
To like the Vortex in 2014.
That exercise is too long and too hard. I don't know how any Bluecoats drumline has ever played that clean. I mean, it was definitely cool. I enjoyed playing it, but it was like, you get to the end of it and you're like chopped out, and it's like, now don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun, but it's just like so much time spent trying to clean it. It's like, oh gosh, I don't know how many hours we spent just on like the snare break to the Vortex.
We spent a lot of time cleaning the Twitch snare solo during move-ins, especially.
And I mean, the end product was really cool. I don't know. It's a lot of work into just like an exercise packet that is only in the lot.
So you think maybe the Rockstar thing came from, well, metaphorical Rockstar thing came from the fact that the Bluecoats might have started treating the lot as less of a warm-up?
It's like a production.
Yeah, it's almost like the show before the show. Like, I remember we coined that phrase.
Bada bing.
I think we started... thinking back now, we called our lots, like, or referred to them amongst ourselves, like, it's a show before the show. Like, some really groups, is. Like, I know Evan tracked in a lot in Crown.
Oh, people hated that. They didn't want to watch it.
Exactly. Like, we didn't do that. Like,
it was, okay, like,
but we were clean.
Yeah,
you were clean.
The coolest thing...
Should have won drums in 09.
I agree with that. The coolest thing, I think, about, like, the Bluecoats lot was, like, we got our stands over our shoulder, just, like, walk into the zone, and people from everyone else's lots are just, like, abandoning ship and, like, following us to our lot just so that they can sit there and watch us tune for 45 minutes.
That makes me laugh, too. That makes me laugh, too. You have, like... We know because we were in it. When a group first gets to the lot, you're gonna just... You have to tune, the guys stretch for a while.
Yeah, you're gonna hang out.
And then when they start playing, nobody wants to watch 8 on a hand. Now, I guess the Flam Jam...
They want to watch Flam Jam now, though.
Why? I think that's boring, too. It's like, oh, watch these guys hack in 16th notes for 5 minutes before they start playing.
The entrances are cool, and then it's just like, well, alright.
Now we're gonna listen to just 16th
notes. Yeah, I mean, it's boring to you
forever.
and me, but I get it. Like, I feel like the lot now has become, like, how cool can we make this to not only be fun for the members, but also recruit for people for the following years.
I feel like
the lot is recruiting.
It is.
It really is.
It's like a hard balance to find of like, this is entertaining and this also hits on skill sets that we need to be clean when we play our show book.
Well, I think that it is gotting. That's an excellent gotting. I think that it has gotten further away from the skill sets.
Agreed.
And it's now more just, this is cool, but it has no real practical purpose.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just, it's kind of gotten
like,
ridiculous.
Let's think about this.
It's like, this warms me up, but I'm also chopped out now, so.
My hands are tired before we get to the show music. But let's think about this for a second. This summer, 2017, yeah, this is 2017.
They all run together now.
They start to. But, in my opinion, the 3 best groups right now are percussion sections, or drum lines, rather. are Crown, Cadets, and probably Vanguard when it comes to clarity.
Crown is the I wish that I had been to a show more recently, but season opener Crown was really clean.
And if you look at those three groups, their warm-up packets, they don't really treat it like the show before the show. Their warm-ups are practical, simple, and apply directly to what their show music demands of them. And Rennick has never strayed from that, if you look at Vanguard in particular right now. His warm-ups are... Evan, you were talking about this earlier. They play decrescendo, crescendo, 8 on a hand, like every high school drumline in the country probably does.
But it's perfectly balanced, and it's perfect.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like the more and more these groups try to have these almost show tunes in the lot to make it more of a production, and I get recruiting is important, all that stuff. You got to try and be cool to get people to want to come do that. But the three cleanest groups, in my opinion, are the ones that have the simple, straightforward warm-ups that aren't playing that game right now.
Well, you said, like, you spent so much time, like, hours cleaning the Vortex, like,
yeah,
when you could be cleaning the book. Did you all play it last year? Did you play Vortex in 2016?
We did.
Imagine, like, this is a terrible hypothetical, but the hours that you spent cleaning that versus what could have been cleaning a show that you could have also won a drum trophy. It's like, where's the give and take? It's like, oh my gosh.
Why do you do that to me, Evan?
What was your 2016 summer like? Like, did you have... Obviously, you said it was stressful being the center for a top 6 group, but, like... I don't know.
How was your summer of 2016?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about your 2016 summer, because you already mentioned earlier it was super stressful being the center of a top group in contention for a gold medal and possibly a drum trophy. Like, what was that like?
I think the first thing I have to talk about is my finals week experience.
I haven't heard this yet.
So, semifinals in the lot. My stomach starts to feel kind of rough, but it's like, this might just be whatever, it'll pass, I'm good. Then we like get into uniform, we hop on the buses, get over to Lucas Oil, we're in the tunnels underneath, and I'm like, man, I really don't want to throw up right now, but I kind of feel like I have to throw up right now. And that uniform kind of like came up like a turtleneck, like up top.
You mean the spandex you wore and called it a uniform?
I think it's lycra. Is that what it's called? I don't know. But
it's lame, is what it was.
I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. So I was like pulling like the neck of my uniform out, and, like trying to get some air. Like, geez, I like do not feel good. And then I like got up on the stage. I think really like adrenaline just carried me through that performance. We get up to the parking lot.
Time out. Did you say you got up on the stage?
Yeah, the ramps.
On top of the ramp.
The main stage is
the
what
vert
we
ramp.
called
The skate park.
The skate park.
It's a stage, Mike.
It was a stupid prop.
That one drum corps. All right. Anyways, so we're like talking after the show, and I didn't go to the circle up because I was like, or what did I? No, I totally went to the circle up. Then we had some like onto percussion pictures that it was like me, Ben, our bass 2, and Mondo, our center quad. We went over there and took some pictures. Mondo.
Is that his real name?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry,
he's a cool dude. So I made it through like 3 or 4 pictures, and it was like, I'm gonna spew. And I did not even feel confident enough to take my drum off. So I like went off to the side where I wouldn't get on anything, like bent over, snare drum between the legs so that I wouldn't vom on my drum, and I puked. Semifinals night. And it was like this stomach bug that had been going around Bluecoats. So like that whole night was terrible. The next morning I woke up early before the pennies ceremony. I went to urgent care, got some medicine.
Jingle jangle.
Jingle jangle. So I missed the penny ceremony, which was kind of a bummer. I warmed up with the drumline, slept under a tree while they tracked for a little bit before full ensemble. Probably did like every third rep. And now mind you, in all of my 4 years of drum corps experience, this is the first time that I've sat out of anything. This finals day of my age out.
Ugh.
It
Rough.
just hurt. But I did the run through. I had to do the run through because there's the Bluecoats battery cam, a finals run through every year.
And you start the show.
And I start the show.
That's kind of important too.
And so, finals, I didn't puke, so that was a success. We won. Pretty cool. Also, I didn't puke later that night either during retreat.
That's good.
And
you had to do the victory run.
Yeah, the victory run. No,
I would hate to do that, by the way.
I had no idea how hard that would be. Because we are conditioned for one show, we pack up, we get on the bus. We tried as our best to sleep. I can't sleep on a bus worth of crap.
Your body's probably programmed to pass out after one run at that point.
Yeah, like the second run, we got to the ballad and I was like, Jesus Christ, I can't make it through this. Like,
well, it doesn't matter how clean or bad you play at that point. Like, you already won, the season's over.
I mean, yeah, it was like a fun way to like just play the show, no pressure with my buddies. That was also really physically hard.
Well, speaking of like condition to play one show, that brings back like a nightmare basically. In 2010, I don't know if it was the first few shows, first couple, but in the beginning of the season, they had these shows. They called them like the Triple C shows because it was Carolina Crown, the Cadets, and Cavaliers, CCC. But we did the run through, and it was like for all these shows, like the first 2 or 3. We did the run through, and we're like, oh, sweet. The run through, go to the equipment truck. Like, oh, no, we're going to do another one. We're like, wait, what?
Why?
For those first few shows, all 3 corps did 2 run throughs in full uniform.
Why would you ever do that?
I don't know. To get the experience, I guess, but the second run through was always terrible. Just absolutely terrible.
To get the experience of being terrible.
I guess. Like, it was, and think about how much you sweat already during one run through, and like these like
it's like parade day.
Thick, heavy uniforms also in the middle of the summer, and you get done and you're just like, alright, your mind is done, like, I'm done. I just did the run through, I can kind of just like relax now, like, oh no, we gotta go do it again. Excuse me? I'm sorry,
did you have
what?
like a warm up in between, or just like
No.
What was the time frame between performance 1 and 2?
The amount of time that it takes 3 drum corps shows to finish. I don't know,
Jesus.
20, 40 minutes, something like that.
So you're completely cooled down, basically, by the time you go on a second time.
I don't know. I was completely tired. I knew that.
That sounds miserable.
It was terrible. And
can't
no one to
imagine.
this day, I think that's the only time they ever did that. We're like,
I mean,
why did we do this?
Not shows, but at Glassmen, we would do like a full run through at the end of Vish block, or like sectionals block,
That sounds terrible.
and then another run through at the end of the night after ensemble.
I mean, we always did a run through on rehearsal days before we go to the show, but
That's something different, too.
But like multiple rehearsal run throughs.
yeah, that's not great.
I don't know how it was at Blue Stars when you were there, but when I was at Blue Stars in 2010, we never did full runs on show days during ensemble.
Really?
Never.
That's
Towards-
so strange.
I think that, I don't know if that was a Tom Unks thing, because he ran ensemble frequently when he was on tour with us, and we never once, for the wind players' chops' sake, we never did run-throughs on show days. Rehearsal days, heck yeah. In ensemble at 9 o'clock at night, do your run-through. And then at Bluecoats we did run-throughs every day at the end of ensemble, but I don't know, what was it like at Crown?
Well, like, at Crown we would do production runs towards the end of the year. Like, we're gonna go through this first movement, through the second movement, and then stop. And they would actually block out parts of the show that the winds would play, or the horns would play, and that they wouldn't play. Like, the parts that were always there and were consistent, they didn't play. But if it was something that, like, hey, we worked on this, we want to play it. So say we did the opener, they're like, all right, brass, you're gonna play from measure 1 to 31, take 31 to 62 out, and you're gonna play from 62 to the end. So they would do that to conserve chops. But at the end of the year, we just do like production runs. We wouldn't
drums,
do
air,
full.
and valve.
drums were gonna finger tap the ballad, and we'd always play.
We at Bluecoats we did production runs if it was like ridiculously hot. Like the worst day of my 2015 summer was hands down Missouri. The sectionals field had tall grass. It was like really humid and hot.
That's the worst.
We broke up the show into like 2 or 3 big production runs instead of the full run through.
The hottest place we were in 2012 was in Wisconsin, actually. In Wisconsin, about probably the time of the summer they're on the tour right now. They're up in the Midwest part of the tour. It's probably right about there. And it was ungodly hot. That was hot. That day in Wisconsin was hotter than Texas the week we were there, than the South. It was so humid. I mean, we were on the turf field of that stadium, and you could see steam just coming off the turf.
And if you haven't been on a turf field, it's always hotter than the surrounding area.
It's always hotter than grass.
Like what, 10, 15 degrees?
Those little black pellets, man, I swear they just heated up.
For sure, but it was so hot. Like you just said, they had you all do just production runs. We didn't have ensemble. Like, we did our sectionals, Viz block in the morning, because, it's cooler in the morning. We got to ensemble at the turf field, and it was so hot, you could feel the heat from the turf through your tennis shoes, and so we didn't chunk anything. We didn't have rehearsal. We legitimately they were like, okay, guys, set up at the top of the show. We're going to run the opener. We did the opener one time. Like, went horns playing, drum, everything was all in. All right, go chill in the shade. They let us chill in the shade under, like, the scoreboard or whatever, or the stadium for 10 minutes.
It's like you guys have, like, air dryers blowing on you the whole rehearsal.
Yeah. and then they say, all right, set up the top of the second chart. We ran the second chart one time, lather, rinse, repeat for all 6 charts we had that summer. And we ran them each one time with a 10-15 minute shade break in between. And the drum line found a pool. And there was an indoor pool at the school.
Stock.
And we didn't tell...
Stock.
The staff found it, actually. Our drum staff did. And asked the lifeguards. They're like, hey, you obviously see how hot they're getting outside. There's like 22 of them. Or let's see, 5 basses, 4 quads.
Math.
17. There's like 17 of these guys that... Would you be cool if they came in here and swam? They won't tell them the rest. There's like 100 people out there, but they're not going to come in here. Just 17. So they worked it out with the lifeguards at the indoor pool at the school, and we got to go swim, and we got back, and the Corps was so mad when they found out we got to go in the pool.
It definitely pays to be in the drum line from this conversation, from my experience. The Bluecoats every year rehearses in War Memorial Stadium in Arkansas, and there's an aquatic center next to it. I probably shouldn't be saying this on the podcast, but
Horn players won't listen to this.
The drum line, I guess I should say the entire percussion section goes to the aquatic center. They have like the past 2 summers that I marched there, and I mean last summer it was like closed to public swimming, so we just found like some other like water park thing nearby. Like the rest of the horns didn't know about it. The color guard probably knew about it, but didn't say anything about it.
The 2 worst places that I remember marching, number 2, like Louisiana, just because the bugs were so bad. And then the number 1 worst place I remember in my 2 years on tour was Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. I hated Kansas. It was so hot and so humid, and if the wind would blow, it felt like someone was just holding a hairdryer to your face.
Oh my god.
I remember it was so hot there that during our run-through that day, the guard had stationed their water bottles near their equipment changes so they could go drink in the middle of the run-through.
That's
what are y'all doing?
That's what I call efficiency right there.
I was like, alright, I guess I can't be too mad. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. Drumline, just like everyone, carabiner water jugs to their harnesses.
Exactly.
Alright, well, we've been going for longer than we planned on as usual, but we're all good friends here, so that's how it works out sometimes. But we're going to go ahead and, I think, close this thing out. Thanks for listening again, as always. We'll be back soon with episode 4.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Aaron, it was great having you. I'm sure we'll get to hang out again soon in the future. Be sure to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/AgedOutPodcast
and
follow us on Twitter at
Aged Out Podcast.
And of course, please subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this on. I don't need to tell you what that's called because you're listening to this on there right now. So, other than that, we'll see you everybody next time.
Peace.